Hey everyone, Penrose776 here, back with Easter? Is it Easter? Spring Special Heroes. We're expecting units from Valentia, units from Macedonia, but who is this? Delthea! Egg. That's a whole rabbit on her hat. That is one
my favorite season.
entire rabbit.
Lively and romantic.
You guys see that? You guys seeing that? You see that? Her skills. Well, actually, first, yeah, Delthea. People were expecting Delthea from one of the silhouettes. Because, I mean, it looked kind of Delthea-ish, I guess. And we do know that we're getting an Echoes hero on here because, well, the Harmonics told us so. The, whatchamacallit, the calendar for Resonant Battles. That's what I'm thinking of. So we knew Echoes was on this banner, and also there's always been a Macedon character, you know, Minerva last year, the Macedonian Pegasus sisters before that. So the real debate is over who the other person on the silhouettes was. A lot of people were saying Leafre. A lot of people were saying Michelin. Not Michelin, that's not his name. Michalis, that's who it is. So it'll be interesting to see who that is. But this is Delthea. She is a blue tome cav unit. Her weapon is the Bright Shell Egg. That's another thing that comes back every year. Eggs. What does this egg do? Well, I'll tell you what it does. It accelerates special trigger, cooldown count -1. At the start of turn, inflicts speed res -6 on nearest foes within 5 spaces of unit through their next actions. If bonus is active on unit or penalty is active on foe, inflict speed res -6 on foe during combat, and also the following effects will occur based on the value of total bonuses on unit plus value of total penalties on foe. Greater than or equal to 6, neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks, and if greater than or equal to 18, foe cannot counter-attack. Example, if unit has +6 bonus to attack and speed, and foe has a -6 penalty to attack and speed, calculated total will be 24. Good, just reminding us how addition works. And of course, because they've got to remind us how things work, there's how bonuses work, there's how penalties work. You all good now? Okay. So, slaying, strong. Speed res -6, menace, but bigger menace. Kind of like what Baby Larachelle does with her staff, actually, making sure it hits everything within that 5-space range that a ranged cav can reach. But the interesting part is the bonus effects. If there's any penalties or bonuses at all, you get speed res -6. That being said, all the bonuses that Delthea is applying are, or penalties in this case, are -6, and any bonuses you're getting are probably -6 as well. So if there are any bonuses or penalties at all, you're probably also getting neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attack. If somehow you've managed to slap Delthea with a bonus that is smaller than 6, but no other bonuses, then maybe you're not getting that, but neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks. So you're hitting them twice. The big part, though, greater than or equal to 18, foe cannot counterattack. That's really strong. Maybe not perfect in the current meta because Ascendant Fjorm is still the main fast saver of choice, but then this Delthea was never going to have a really good matchup against Ascendant Fjorm anyway because blue. So note that down, because blue and because only hitting once. Still, against every other fast saver, that is still ridiculously good. Armors have nothing against counterattack denial. They can't do anything. The thing you're maybe more concerned about, though, is buff and penalty neutralization, because units can run that. In fact, some units, I'm thinking of, what's her face, Ascendant Idun, who I've just built as a far saver, comes with both penalty and bonus neutralization, so that completely shuts this weapon down. On the other hand, units that don't have that, well, you're not going to get the minus 18 condition unless you're fishing for some extra bonuses or penalties from somewhere, because at the moment there's just 6. Minus 6 for 2 stats, so that's minus 12, so you're going to need at least plus 6 from somewhere else, which I mean you can do pretty easily. But if either bonus or penalty neutralization are coming into play, you're going to need to effectively debuff free stats and also buff free stats on Delthea just for perfect uptime. Consider it. Still, if you do get that foe cannot counterattack, especially since you're also getting the follow-up prevention neutralization as well, this seems like a really strong unit. Basically your classic windsweep build with a no follow-up weapon, except it's all already centered in the weapon, so your B slot is completely freed up. She also has Glimmer, fair enough, and attack speed catch 4. Understandable, her kit revolves around putting penalties on the foe, so why not give her an A slot that capitalizes on that, right? And since she's planning to nullify counterattacks anyway, there really isn't any reason to go for any stats that aren't attack or speed on her. If her game plan works, she's only using her offensive stats, and if her game plan doesn't work, she's kind of in a bad spot anyway. So attack and speed, sure. Seems a bit light on fodder, only having 1 skill, but I mean, I guess that's... Has that happened before? I don't know. Cool unit. Definitely a really interesting blue tome option. Let's keep going and see her attack. There's another page? You... Okay. Sure, they... Sure. Got me. We're on 2 pages now, people. 2 of them. Okay, so speed res for trace 3. Again, speed and res the skills that you want to hit, because if they're not counterattacking, those are the only skills that matter, right? That also gives her Canto for remaining movement. She is a tome cav, so this is basically the best option in this slot, considering that there's a lot of other things you can't run. Tome calves just don't get much in the way of skill choice. Could maybe put a lull in there as well. Consider it. But this is already pretty much perfect. And in the C slot, Rouse attack speed 4. Okay, so she does get A, better fodder, B, a reliable source of actual buffs on her. It is a Rouse skill, so bear that in mind, but Rouse attack speed 4 means that she is running up with attack speed plus 6 and null, panic, and also putting speed res minus 6 on the foe. She does in fact have enough stat swing to activate her PRF by herself out of the gate. That's pretty big in her favor now, getting fully activated like that. 2 pages! They seriously brought us out to 2 flipping pages, and of course it's on Delthea. Great, sure, why not? I'm assuming there's not a 3rd page. I sure hope there isn't. We've got to C already. There's not any slots past C. Let's see her attack animations, please. Yeah, here we go. 69 times 2. Nice. The rabbit is moving, I notice. It's moving on her head. Maria. Okay, so maybe that wasn't Michalis. Who gave her an axe? Who gave Maria an axe? Okay, sure. Maria is a axe flyer. She's not Michalis, she is Maria. I mean, this doesn't rule out Michalis. We could get 2 Macedon units this banner, but this isn't Michalis. This is Maria. She's Maria. She's armed with a pastel poleaxe, grants defense +3, neutralizes effects against flying bonuses. At start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 25%, grants attack speed, defense, res +5 to unit during combat. Because we're in the modern era, we need +5 to all stats. Deals damage equal to 20% of unit's defense. Reduces damage from foes' attacks by 20% of unit's defense, excluding area of effect specials. And restores 7 hit points to unit and allies within 2 spaces after combat. Are you sure this is Maria? The unit who has one of the lowest defense stats in Fire Emblem Heroes. Maria, the unit who in her base game literally has not only a very low defense stat, but a 0% defense growth, meaning that she does not get any more defense from that either. That Maria has picked up an axe and turned into a unit who only cares about defense. Sure, I can buy that. Maria has been hitting the protein, apparently. Sure, Axe Maria. Weirder things have happened. Still, I've given you a very clear line of what you want to do with this unit. Stack defense. 20% of unit's defense is large. That's going to be, if you can hit 50 defense, that is going to be 10 damage and 10 damage reduction. Big. Also, no flying effectiveness, so this is a unit who can actually reliably tank bows. Big. 50 is going to be 10. You might even be able to hit 60 for 12. 12 damage and 12 damage reduction is putting that on Spendthrift levels, with minus the downside of Spendthrift. Honestly, really good, really threatening, and with the 7 hit point restoration to herself and nearby allies, also just going to be a really tanky, really good sustain unit. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, depending on how things go, of course, potentially like full Nadelgard levels of just tanking. So long as you're running up against, I don't know what her res stat looks like. It might be that she dies to things that hit res, which is understandable. But for the time being, like, wow. Rally, speed, defense plus, sure. Attack, defense, push 4. So yeah, really, really res, not defense pushing here. The 5 damage kind of would count against her being a tanky unit, except she restores 7 hit points after combat, so she's going up 2 hit points every time. And the B slot, we have a new B skill here. New inheritable B skill, Flow Flight 3. If you initiates combat, neutralizes effects that prevent units' follow-up attacks during combat. And also, if unit speed is greater than or equal to foe's speed minus 10, deals damage during combat equal to 70% of difference between defense stats, unit's defense minus foe's defense, and reduces damage from foe's attacks by 70% of that difference, excluding area of effect specials, minimum 0, maximum of 7. It's a flow version of Wyvern Flight. So first things first, you get the null follow-up prevention, the half null follow-up basically, letting you get off that guaranteed follow-up attack. And for Maria here, that's probably a really good thing. That's probably the more important part of the weapon, because I'm expecting her to not really care about her foe hitting her that much, because she's tanky as hell. And in addition, the other half is basically a player phase only Wyvern Flight, but it is better than Wyvern Flight. Well, maybe better, depending on how you look at it. Wyvern Flight requires you to have, I think, something like 14 more defense than your opponent, which is a really difficult level to hit, because even if you consider, like, hitting 50 defense, take 14 off of that. Now suddenly units with like over 35 defense are not getting the full brunt of Wyvern Flight anymore, requiring only 10 defense over. That's potentially different. That's potentially a bit more. That's nice. The other interesting thing is Wyvern Flight reduced the foe's attack and defense. Flow Flight deals damage and reduces damage. Is that going to be a big difference? I assume probably not, but it might come into play somewhere. The other interesting thing is this does seem to push her more in a player phase direction on just her base kit. Her weapon seems like it works fully dual phase, but this is a player phase only effect, so interesting bit of not entirely synergy there. But I mean, consider the following situation, right? If you have 10 less defense than her, and she has, say, 50 defense, which seems doable, right? That's an achievable number. 17 damage she's dealing, and 17 damage reduction. Hoo boy! Good luck. Good freaking luck. Honestly, really fun unit. Not entirely sure how viable she's going to be just all around, but in modes where you can get away with running this, like in Summoner Duels, for instance, if she's covered by a Farsaver to protect her from tomes, I could see her being an absolute menace of a unit to fight against. Nice. Still really funny that they did that to Maria, though. They just gave her an axe, gave her a defense stat, and said, go hog wild. Yeah, just obliterating that Lance Cav there. Henry? Peculiar egg!
So things can be fun even without anyone dying?
Yeah, murder is not a necessary part of fun, Henry. Henry, I was about to say looking like our 4-star here, but those are some really good skills for a 4-star. First off, let's look at what the inheritable weapons this set does. The Carrot Tip Bow. It is, my friends, effective against flying foes at start of combat. If foe's HP is greater than or equal to 75%, or if penalty is active on foe, grants attack defense plus 5 to unit during combat, and unit's first attack during combat deals damage equal to total attack defense penalties on foe. Alrighty. Kind of going half and half on effects here. Attack defense plus 5 on a pretty broad condition is in line with a lot of other inheritable weapons. And then all of those weapons have some sort of extra effect as well. This weapon does as well. Going kind of in line with the Plegian weapons here, except instead of going down the route the Plegian weapons did, the carrot tip, I'm not entirely sure how to categorize these weapons, but this type of weapon is turning that into pure damage. Damage is good. Dealing damage to things is important for killing them. If you don't deal damage, you can't win. And if you deal more damage, you win more. Important lessons of Fire Emblem Heroes. So, honestly, kind of going pseudo Blade Tome, pseudo Broadleaf on this weapon, like half of that is a pretty nice turn of events. I like it. Well played. But then, the inheritables. Rally Defense Res Plus, Premium Rally. Really good to see that on a 4-star. Raise and Attack Defense, do not care about. But in the B slot, Attack Defense Ruse Free. I will say it now, I will say it to you. Ruse skills are still one of the best B slot options for support, because they afflict that guard status on the foe. And guard, ooh boy, we love guard. So many units in the game rely so much on specials going off, special acceleration. If you can throw a big rusey spanner in those works, do so, you will not regret it. And it applies debuffs as well, like attack defense -5, nothing to laugh at. But also the ruse, just So all in all, Henry, I mean, seems relatively cool as a spring unit. I'm sure Henry fans out there are loving this moment, but for me, Henry looks like prime fodder, especially if he's in the 4-star pool, which I hope he is, because he's in the slot where they normally put the 4-star units. So, bring it in, guys. Again, let's see. Yeah, check. Oh yeah, he doesn't have a special. We don't have to get a special quote. Sonya, is that Faja in the bag?
Don't we look fine?
It is.
For yourself.
Faja not here for this, apparently. Sonya and Faja are harmonic unit on the banner. They are a flying unit with a green tome, so that means we're getting green color sharing, I think. Interesting, very interesting. And both of the green, well, I'm assuming this unit is strong. They're a harmonic unit, those are always strong. But both of the green units on this banner looking very strong is a really interesting thing. We haven't seen that in a while. Her weapon, Magic Rabbits. Accelerate special trigger, cooldown count -1. At the start of turn 1, grants special cooldown count -2. Unit can move to a space within 2 spaces of any ally within 2 spaces. And if unit initiates combat within 2 spaces of an ally, grants attacks +4, speed +6, and bonus to unit's attack equal to unit's max special cooldown count value ×3 during combat. Okay, so it's a bit like Sonya's base weapon, where she gets an immediate special. Turn 1, just instantly charge that bad boy up. Except, now, the previous version gave her +10 damage on her specials. This one is saying, actually, if you're running a free base cooldown special, so reduced to 2 by the slaying effect, attack +4, speed +6, and then another attack +6 from that final effect, it means you're getting attack +10 when you're triggering that special. Big swing there. Attack +10 even when you're not triggering that special, actually, because the condition is just initiating combat or being within 2 spaces of an ally, and with that insane Halloween Noe style teleportation effect to any ally within 2 spaces, it's going to be very easy to get wherever you want while still being within 2 spaces of an ally. That is insane mobility. If you've ever seen Halloween Noe do anything, especially being a ranged unit, that is just ridiculous, absurd mobility. She comes with Luna base. Probably, I think, one of the best calls for this unit, because that's going to be instantly chargeable. If you had extra charge coming from somewhere, like I'm thinking Duochrome, you might want to go for Dragonfang, because I think with the amount of attack she's getting, because that would push her up to plus 13 attack, that Dragonfang probably monstrous, terrifying. But even if you don't, Luna still probably one of the better options out there, because it just shreds through tanks, and by the looks of the rest of her skill set, I'm imagining she doesn't really have a strong defensive stat to run Bonfire, Glacies, Ignis, Iceberg is the 4th one I'm thinking of. Probably can't run those particularly well. Blue Flame maybe, but who runs Blue Flame in 2022, huh? In the A slot, attack speed Unity. Again, the Unity trigger is being within 2 spaces of an ally. She is going to have no problem at all being within 2 spaces of an ally, because just look at that weapon effect. B slot, Chill Defense Res 2. Chill skills, maybe not it. I'm going to be honest. Well, they are good. They are good. You love to chill people if they're out there. But, I mean, there's not really that many better options for her, because she is a tome flyer. What else are you going to run on her? Huh? But the chill skill, a lot of people out there these days deliberately soak these things. The fact that it's a double chill theoretically could let it miss a unit who's trying to soak just defense or just res, but considering that the key soaking tool normally for getting your stats high enough to take chills is Fortress Defense res, maybe not going that way. But still, it's not a bad skill at all. You're taking the unit on their team who is ostensibly the hardest for her to kill and just chilling the heck out of them. And in the C slot, Speed Res Hold, a new gold tier C slot, inflicts Speed Res -4 on foes within 3 spaces during combat. They have power crept Rhine skills. Well, it's Rhine 4, basically, except they've called it Hold to distinguishificate it from the Rhine skills. It's a bigger Rhine, which is actually pretty meaningful, because Rhine skills, normally the kind of range they take effect in requires your Rhine users to attack first, or if you're tanking, requires your Rhine user to be on point for that attack, like having a save unit save onto them. Hold, 1 more space of leeway. Sometimes 1 space is all you need. Because this, you don't have to attack with them first anymore. They could just be within range naturally, is what I'm thinking, anyway. Basically, it just makes the positioning on a lot of matchups a whole lot easier to work out, which is cool. Still, everyone who has their Rhine skills and is thinking, ooh, this is a really good C slot, and now is thinking, ooh, power crept Rhine skills, I'm going to have to inherit them as well. Yeah. Funny how it goes. But altogether, Sonya, base Sonya, is a really strong unit with that instant special, that big instant special. This Sonya, I think, is also going to be just a terrifying nuke of a unit. Still maybe going to struggle against the same thing that all these other units are struggling against, Ascendant Fjorm, because nothing here is going to shred a defensive special. Nothing here even shreds damage reduction, actually, so you're going to have to be a bit careful about that just in general. But aside from that, big specials have always been the way to go, and this looks like no exception. And she probably has a harmonic skill, harmonic skill as well, so let's see what that is. It's pretty hard. We see her stats, no defense in res. The Harmonized skill grants special cooldown count -2 to unit and allies from the same titles as unit. Grants attack +6 and resonance blades to unit and allies from the same titles as unit for 1 turn. So remember how she's getting a whole bunch of attack and speed and special cooldown count from her weapon? Again, the same thing on the Harmonized skill. Some of you may see this and be tempted to run, what's it called? 5 cooldown count special, Ether. It is tempting, right? Because if you get that 2 cooldown immediately and get this 2 cooldown from here, that's a really big Ether, and then that's giving you 6 more attack. But is 6 more attack on 1 Ether really worth it when Lunar Base has the same offensive power as Ether, but you can use it twice? Consider. This also means that if you're running like Dragonfang version of her with Duochrome, because I'd like to remind you, Duochrome really likes this, I think. You can Dragonfang twice as well. Blimey heck, this having pre-charge specials is just really good. Yet again, this is another skill that you should run a Duo's hindrance so that they never get to use it. But in every mode where you can use this, really good. In fact, this sort of skill is really handy for pre-charge teams just in general, because it means if your opponent has a pulse tie skill to try and deny your pre-charge, you can just say no to that. You can deny them. You can go, actually, screw you, I'm pre-charged anyway. What are you going to do about it, huh? And there's nothing they can do about it. You're pre-charged. Love it, really strong. But compared to previous Duo and Harmonics units, also seems weirdly balanced. The things that are the strongest in the metagame already, specifically hardy fighter opponents, will still shut this down. So, yeah, balanced, maybe. That's a really offensive stat line, though. Wow. She's going to hit like a ton of heavy things. Here's a special activation.
Let our beauty enchant you.
What?
What? Faja just
Sonya.
detests every living moment of this. She does listen to her. I love it. And now let's see who the whatchamacallit is. That's Leafre. That is him. He is a Lance Cavalry unit. We're confirming that Henry is on this banner as a 4-star focus as well. Obviously, Fey Pass to Spark. Color sharing on green is really interesting. And honestly, I think all of the units on this banner have some pretty good stuff. That being said, am I rolling for it? Probably not, because there's the green A Hero Rises banner coming up, and I want to spend a whole lot of orbs on that for mythic merges, for legendary merges, and for fodder, for really good fodder on that banner. That's where a lot of my orbs are going, so I probably won't have any left for this. But let me know if you think differently, because there are some really interesting units on this banner and really good 4-star fodder as well. Yep, tell me that, and I will see you all in the future. Penrost out. Penrost out, I said.